Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about taking your cape off of the skull. Okay, this is part 2 of our video series. This is the same deer that we took the cape off of the carcass to show you exactly how to get it to the taxidermist. The point of this video today is to help those guys that are out elk hunting and mule deer hunting and those kind of things. They can actually take the skin right off of the skull, so they don't have to worry about transporting the entire head. With a lot of restrictions and stuff that are out there with CWD and some of those things. The first thing that you'd want to do is take a good measurement on the face. Your taxidermist should be able to make an easy measurement just from the skin, but since you have the animal laying there, to get a very accurate measurement, you can go from the front corner of the eye to the very outside edge of the nose. For instance, this deer measures at 7 3/4 inches. So that'll help me determine, approximately what form we want to order for this deer as far as the head measurements go. With this deer here that we have taken and tubed out the entire neck area, all that we're going to need to do, since we've skinned it so close to the back of the head where the skull is, we're going to make a short Y incision and just cut it just enough to rotate that skull out of the skin, which means that there's less that we have to fix because we're not cutting as much. So at this time we're going to show you how to make that incision. So at this point in time we're going to show you how to make your incision on your deer. Like I said, we're generally going to want to do just a Y incision. Some guys go straight across, some guys everybody's got a different method. For me, I just like doing the short Y incision. Seems to work pretty good for me. So what I'm going to do, and you're going to see me in here with my knife, but I'm not cutting these hairs. I'm actually just taking my knife just to lift the hairs. So if I can turn this a little bit so that you can see. I'm going to lift these hairs and separate them. I'm just trying to make a clean access to the skin. You're going to cut a few little hairs here and there, but it's not going to be significant that you're going to notice it. Biggest thing is you just don't come in and cut right down through them, because you will notice that. But you can start to see where you can see the skin. Okay, and we're going to get right up here at the burr. We're just going to start our cut straight down. Trying to be as careful as we can not to cut the hair. You see here that there's very little hair that has been cut doing that cut. Now what we're going to do is spin it, and we're going to do from the other side. Actually, I can continue this cut just a little bit more. Try and meet it in the center. And we're going to try and get to this other burr, antler burr. Just take your blade and just kind of separate the hair to expose the skin there. That's looking pretty good. And you're going to come in here right at the burr and cut straight down. Little hair I want to separate there. And come right to the other cut that we just made here. Okay, you can start to see that this little triangular flap is going to start lifting off of the skull for us. Kind of get the edge of the skin started around the burrs with the scalpel, but this is the best tool you can use for starting to work the skin away from the burrs. And all it is a simple twisting action. You put it underneath that skin, and then you're going to twist it away from that burr. So we'll try and get it started here. But what that'll do is you won't tear the skin, you won't cut it. Every now and then you may have to come in with your scalpel and just loosen it just a little bit. and back in with the screwdriver and twist it away from the burr. You may have to come in and loosen some of this skin. Go around each side. One thing to always remember when you're cutting, angle the blade of your knife towards the skull. Don't angle it up. If you angle it up, you're more likely to cut through the skin. So you want to always keep that angle in the direction of the bone itself. As you can see, it's slowly peeling away from around the burrs. I just continue to kind of keep jumping back from one side to the other. See, we're getting a majority of the burrs all the way around now. The skin loosened from the burrs. And this guy's got a lot of scar tissue on his forehead, so I just use my knife and I'm just going to kind of feel with the tip of the blade where the skull is and just lightly go over it. Now I'm going to finish this Y incision. You can see we have our V notch here. The point right in the center of the back of the skull. The nice thing about caping the deer out the way that we did, this incision's only going to have to come right into here. If we had a bunch of neck meat in here, we'd either have to skin it back down, take that neck meat out in order to get a short incision, or we're going to have to split that all the way back to the back edge of that neck meat in order to rotate the skull out of the skin. So from underneath the skin, and you won't cut hairs doing it this way, just try and cut your straight line down the back of the skull here. Then we're going to start removing the ears where they're attached to the skull. We'll show you that. It gets a little bit tight in here behind the skull. Just kind of cut it just enough to release it. Go back to your screwdriver. I'm going to start on this other side now. Put a little tension on the skin and pull it back. And go just a little bit further, and then I'm going to start to cut the ear away from the side of the skull here. Now you can take your finger, your index finger, and put it right down in the ear canal if you'd like, to make sure that you don't cut You don't want to cut out here on the ear. You want to keep your cut right along the skull, okay? Because a lot of your taxidermists are going to use that inner ear cartilage or detail to re-put back into your mount. So you can take your blade and you can just kind of feel with your blade and go right along the skull here. Because as soon as you detach this ear, it's going to allow you to finish cutting the rest of your burr away, the skin away from the edge of your burr here. And it's not going to be any different if you're doing a mule deer. It's not going to be any different if you're doing an elk. It's not going to be any different, you know, from whitetail. This is just a pretty much in general method for most animals that have a horn or a antler. Okay, I'm going to set this up. I'm going to start removing this side here too. Start give us a little bit more slack once we get these ears detached from the skull itself. Now, as I get right down in here, you know, this is where the ear canal is actually going into the skull. So continue cutting under this skin here. Right there's the ear canal. I don't know if you can see that little hole. But if you cut it close to the skull, all you should see is just a little hole right there. And that's what you want. So I'm going to try and go ahead and finish taking the skin off around this burr here. Just kind of go back and forth between using the scalpel and then actually pulling the skin away with the screwdriver. You can see now that we have that all the way around that antler burr. So now when the taxidermist has this, it'll fit like a glove. That skin will come right back up the way that it should and fit right around there. If you cut it and you make a bunch of tears, and it gets tricky to fix. So the more accurate you can do that, you can see just laying that skin right back up there, it should look just like that when it's mounted. He's got, like I said, he's got a knot right here above his antler. We'll come around that. You can see here's our ear canal. We didn't leave a bunch of cartilage on here. All our cartilage and all our inner ear is on the skin. We're going to flip back to our other side and try and free the other side. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and try and release this other side. We're trying to give you some good angles that you can actually see what we're doing. Again, taking the scalpel, just trying to follow along the burr and using the screwdriver to come in here and pry it away. A lot of guys that, you know, are on Western hunts, that kind of stuff, will take a multi-tool with them, and they usually have a flathead screwdriver right on there. So, you know, that'll work. That's all you need. It's just kind of a blunt object that can twist it away. I'm going to continue to try and cut down here along our ear canal to release this ear from the skull. You can see the start of our ear canal right here. It's going to cut right through it. Don't let it scare you. A lot of guys think they made a mistake when they cut through that, but you're going to have to cut through the ear canal to detach the ear. Okay. Well, we're just going to finish cutting around our antler burr here, taking our time. 2 reasons. You don't want to cut yourself and you don't want to cut your hide. You can see that screwdriver is actually all the way through there, and that skin is still attached around the burr, but just twisting it and it'll pull it right off. Okay, as you can see, we can take that skin and we've got it worked down, you know, a good inch or so beyond the base of the burr. But now we're getting close to the back of the eye, and this is an area where a lot of people make cuts, and you know, we're going to talk around this tear duct and stuff. These are very thin, very detailed areas that if you cut through that, it's very hard to fix that for the taxidermist. You're going to see stitches. There's a lot of things that can cause problems there. So you're going to want to be real careful around your eye area. But before we get to this eye, I'm going to show you. And a lot of guys do this first too. They're actually going to release the mouth area. We're going to come in here with a scalpel and cut around our mouth and our jaw to release that skin, and then I'm going to come back and start to skin beyond the eye. So, you know, why I do the incision on the back of the head first, it's really just a personal preference. You could skin the mouth first, then do your incision. It's really no difference, just as long as you're doing it the correct way. That's all that matters. So at this time, we're going to show you how to release the skin and the nose from around the inside of the mouth. Okay, at this point in time, we're going to show you how to release the skin and the nose from our jaw. The first cut that I make is I take this nose pad and I lift it up as high as I can. Right in here is cartilage, and you can actually take your scalpel, staying as close to the skull as you can, and cut into that cartilage and cut straight back. Okay. It's a nice soft tissue area. Okay, that's the first cut that we're going to make. The second area that I'm going to start on is, you can see where we have the hair meets the skin, this area here. The taxidermist is going to need this area of the skin so that he can actually tuck that back into the mannequin when he goes to mounting it. So what we want to do is we want to stay way back from the hairline area and staying right along the jaw, and I'm going to make a cut here and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. Staying right along the jaw. We'll see if you guys can see this cut, but you can see I'm a good, probably close to an inch away from that hairline along the jawbone. Again, my blade is angled towards the skull, not towards the skin, so I don't come out there and cut it. Okay? Just kind of releasing that. You can see the skin's already starting to pull away from the skull a little bit. And that's about all the further I need to go on that portion of that cut. I'm going to come to the same side, or the opposite side, and do the same thing. We're going to come to this side, and I will cut it, and then I will show you the line of where that's cut. Okay, so now we're going to come to the other side. You can see my blade angled in towards the jawbone. I'm going to come right up here and meet this cut that I made underneath the nose. You can see how much skin between the hair that I'm leaving here. That's really about all you have to do on that portion. Now I'm going to come to my lower jaw. You have a lot of skin that hangs down here. But what you got to do, a lot of guys want to cut right here along the hairline. Again, come along the jaw. I'm cutting right in the direction of the jaw. I'll make the cut and then I'll pull my hand away and kind of show you what we've got. Because the bottom portion of the jaw here, we can cut that entire skin area away at this time. You can see that knife staying nice and tight along the bone there. So you're leaving plenty of skin here for your taxidermist. He's going to turn that once you get it to his shop. That's all his responsibility, not yours. Your job is to get this off the skull without making cuts all over the skin. Okay, so you can see that skin was here, and you can see right here, if you look at this line, that's kind of the cut that you want to make, and you're cutting almost right to the bone just to release that skin. And now we're going to go to the other side and do it, and this whole lower jaw will come free, that skin. Okay, so now we're going to come over to our opposite side, and usually I start right in here. Again, I'm going to make a cut because my hands are kind of on the way for viewing. Cut into the jaw, staying away from where the hair is. I'm going to start to release this lower jaw. And just put a little tension on the skin and just cut this membrane as you come down. You don't need to worry about leaving any of that meat, none of that. None of that is going to matter at this point in time. All you're trying to do is just get the skin off of the skull. Just kind of coming around the whole jaw, just to release as much as I can at this time. Again, you can see where the cut is made on the skin here. And you can see we've left a lot of skin between the hairline and where we cut along the jaw. Lots of skin here on the lower lip. You don't need to worry about doing anything other than that. And you can see here on the upper jaw, I'm just going to kind of cut along here on each side. We're leaving plenty of skin on the upper side as well. Okay, and that's really all that we need to do through the mouth. You're going to make your straight cut through here, and you're basically just cutting all the way around the jaw to release this skin. And now we're going to go back to the back of the skull here, and we're going to start to roll the skin down over the eyes. Okay, so we've released our jaw. You can see this. We've released around our antler burrs. We've made our short Y incision. Now we're going to start to pull that skull out of that incision. And what I do when I flip this skull forward to help me balance it, I lift his nose pad. I don't want to rest this deer on his nose because you can damage the nose pad or the hairs. So I just flip it up, roll him forward, put him on his antlers there, and you're going to see that I've got some tissue that needs disconnected here to help me pull that skull through the cape incision. What you're going to start to see is that skull is going to start to come right through that incision. You're going to start to see the side of the head. And this is where you have to start being aware of where those eye sockets are, because remember, you don't want to cut through those eye sockets. I'm just kind of going all around the entire head here at this time. Okay, and then we're going to roll this up and we're going to show you how to cut around your eyes and not damage them. Okay, so we're just going to show you real quick. We've rolled the skull. We're starting to roll that skull through the incision, and you can see that we're getting close to the back of our eye. You can see how far we've cut there. So the best trick that I can tell you is stick your finger in that eye socket, in that skin. Okay, it feels a little weird, but get your finger in there, because what you're going to find, you're going to take your finger and you're going to lift the skin upwards towards you. Okay, your finger is telling you where the back of that eye is, and you aren't going to want to cut your finger, so that's why you got to put it in there. And you can see the angle of my blade is towards the skull. I'm not cutting along this way, because I'm going to cut my skin if I do. I'm lifting it. Continue to bring the rest of the skin with it here, so you're not fighting it. I've already got it released. You can see my finger right here, okay? I'm going to cut on the other side of my finger, right around here. Now that I've released the back of that eye, I don't need my finger in there. Okay, I can see I've released the skin, I've not cut the back of the eye. Now I'm just going to come in here and make a little bit of tension on the skin. I'm going to continue to cut this eye free. You can see the eyelid right through here. Okay, you want to leave all this skin here. You can see right here, this is the very front corner of that eye. You want that on the skin. So I'm going to come in here close to the eye itself, as close as I can here. And we're doing this upside down so that we can try and give you the best angle we can so you can see what we're doing. And remember, I'm keeping my knife aimed at the skull. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we got here. Here's our eye skin. There's no cuts in it. We've released it. Now right in front of the eye, you can see this is the tear duct. This is what a lot of guys cut off of their mount. It's not a huge deal if you do, but you definitely want to leave it on there, because you can tuck that skin and your taxidermist should be able to make that tear duct look just like it should. Okay? You can see that it rolls and it goes into the skull, so it's almost going straight into the skull. So what we have to do, we just have to be aware that as we go around this tear duct, remove some of the skin to let it roll forward. We're keeping our knife tip pointed right at that tear duct area. Take little cuts, just use the very tip of your knife blade. You can almost see this little dark, or this little white line right here. That's that thin skin that's running into the tear duct. And you can see right here, I'll make a little bit of a cut. You can see this is the back of the tear duct. And that skin sits tight right to the skull. So as soon as we pull that tear duct out, we're going to show you what it looks like. This is the tear duct skin right here. Completely removed it. But the most important thing is you see that the skin dips and comes in right here. This right here, this little white pocket, that's the tear duct. And you can see, we roll it back over. See how that skin all moves around now? We've completely cut that free. So this side of the eye is completely done. So all we need to do is go onto the other side, release that eye, and then we're ready to take the skin right off the skull. Okay, so we have not released this side of the deer yet. So all we're doing is the same process as what we did on the other side. It's just, we're gonna come right along here and you're gonna see, first we wanna get the skin close to where it's gonna be at the back of the eye. I can see that, I can feel that orbital eye bone right there. And once you start hitting that, then it's time to start slowing down and making sure you're not gonna make a mistake. That's when it's time to get your eye or your finger into that eye socket. Okay, just like this. Take your finger right in here. You want to feel the back of that eye. You'll feel this eyelid all the way around it. You don't want to cut that. I'm lifting. Again, I'm lifting it away from the skull while I'm keeping my knife pointed in the direction of the skull. And I'm going to start cutting the back edge of that eye out. I've already got the back of that cut, so what I can do is just come right along with my knife and bring my finger in here even to help me give it a little bit of tension. Keeping the rest of the skin along with it here. Remember, stay tight in this front corner of this eye. You want all that eye skin you can get. This doesn't matter. This is just a membrane that lays in the front corner of the eye. That does not need to stay on your skin. Just want to make sure you guys can see that. That's not necessary. It's not going to stay on your skin. So I can get that cut through there. Now we have to be careful that we don't go through our tear duct right in this area. You can see how deep that goes back in towards the skull. All this has been released now. But now we just have to keep our angle of our blade in the direction of that skull. Okay, so now we're just going to continue in here along this tear duct, just using the very tip of your knife. And release some of the skin if it helps you. Just come along and move that down. You can see how deep it dips into the skull. There it is, we're completely past the tear duct. This camera angle gives you a really good look though, at how tight you have to stay to that skull, how it dips all the way in, and you got to keep your knife all the way down here tight to that skull in order to get this piece of skin cut out of there without making holes in it. This is pretty important. All of this stuff around these eyes and that tear duct are crucial on how your final mount's going to look. So really take your time around there. Basically, we have everything released. We just have to finish taking the skin off the rest of the skull. The only other area we're going to need to be real careful of is that, we don't cut through the back corner of our mouth. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to make a simple cut in the back corner of the mouth. And you could have done this when you first released the skin here. But what you're going to do, you want to stay back from this is the back corner. Okay, this is what would be laying here. Open this up. And we're going to make a cut that come back probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches. And we're going to cut straight towards the outside part of our skin. But we're just going to cut through this meaty area. We don't want to cut through the skin, just through the meat, just so that we can have a guide that says, okay, there's the back corner of the mouth. Don't go beyond that. You see I'm stopping right at the skin. You see that? Don't cut through there. You've released this part. You don't need to worry about any of that, just cut right to the skin. We're going to do that on both sides. Come to the other side, look at your hairline, come back 1.5 inches, 2 inches, just to give you plenty. Cut right to your skin. And you can see I've got my fingers back here, okay? The fingers are going to tell me what my eyes can't see. So use your fingers to tell you how far is too far. You can see I'm stopping right at the skin. And I want to stop right there. I'm going to leave all this skin here, all this back corner of the mouth attached to the skin. So now all we have to do is finish taking the skin off the rest of the head, and it should come right off. Okay, so we've released our mouth, we've released around our eyes, the burrs, our short incision. Now we just need to work the skin off the rest of the face. So just put a little bit of tension on it with one hand, being aware where the skin is, taking your time. You can see I'm starting to hit the cut that I made from the inside of that mouth. Roll it back and forth to kind of keep all the skin moving along at about the same pace here. Does not matter if you leave meat on the skin. That does not matter one bit. Your goal right now is to not get holes in the skin. So I'm just going to keep rotating the skull around until we can get it about cut free. A little tension. You can see right here is where I made that cut for the back of the mouth. You see how that just starts to release instantly? You are not going to cut the back of that mouth out if you do it that way. Just going to continue to rotate back and forth. See right here, I can already see that's where we made that cut from the inside of the mouth to indicate that we aren't going to cut the back part of that lip line out of there. So I just about have the complete lower jaw skin is completely separated. You can see it's completely separated. So now I just need to work the top half forward, and then we're going to cut down here behind our nose and leave all our detail on there. Once you get past those eyes, you know, it really starts getting much quicker. Okay, so now I just have to be careful here where my nose is. You don't want to come in here and cut this nose skin, okay? This is all cartilage back in here. So you can come clear back here and we're going to be cutting at this angle straight down into the nose to leave this whole piece all together. Your taxidermist is going to turn that, thin it down so that it looks really nice on your mouth. So I'm just going to pull that forward. I can see that I am not beyond where my nostrils are. You can put your finger in there just to know. Okay. I'm going to make a cut that goes straight down through the cartilage. And I can see here that I'm going to need to make that cut that I brought straight back here just a little bit further, just to make sure I don't lose any of my nostril skin. And it is free from the skull. We're going to briefly show you here is that if you need to cut the skull plate free from the skull, there's a lot of issues now with chronic wasting disease, those kind of things, to where you can't transport brain matter or whatever across state lines due to, you know, infection to deer herds. So I'm just going to show you kind of a way that you can cut these off, get the brain matter out of there so that you don't have to worry about anything like that. Basically, if you look at this screwdriver, we're going to make a straight line that comes, I don't know, probably I'd say 2 inches, you know, in front of the fingers. You know, that's just a good, quick, general way. You know, obviously, if the further you cut forward, the more you have. A taxidermist can always trim it back if they'd like, but I'm going to make a cut that goes straight down to the skull, basically in that line. Now I'm going to use a Sawzall today. A lot of you guys are going to be out in the hills and mountains and everything else. Obviously you're going to want a handsaw to have with you so that you can cut this line off. I'm going to go ahead and cut that at this time. If you look at my saw blade at this point, you can see that I've cut plenty far enough. So we're going to stop there and then we're going to make a cut from the back of the skull. I usually flip my skull so it's kind of up on its nose. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to start back here. Again, I'm going to use this screwdriver just as a reference. The main thing that you want to remember is that you want to stay away from these burrs. You want to come clear down in this area to meet the cut that you made from behind the eye sockets. So in general, we're going to try and make a straight cut down to this point. And then if your taxidermist needs to remove any more of the skull plate, they can do that at that time. But we're going to make our cut here. Okay, so we do have the skull cap released from the skull, and obviously you're going to have some of the brain matter that lays inside of the skull plate. That's what they don't want to have transported across state lines in many states. So just take your screwdriver and you can just kind of flop that out of there. That's the part you want to get rid of. And then in order to keep the skull plate fresh, there's still meat on here. This meat is going to rot. It is going to smell. I usually take just a little bit of borax just to help me grab hold of the meat. And I'm gonna take my little scalpel blade and I'm gonna go right around this meat area. Try and give you an angle that you guys can see. And all you're doing, you're not gonna hurt this. I mean, if you cut into the bone or anything like that, you can't hurt this. And this is a skull cap that would work for any kind of a, your shoulder mount. Those are the angle cuts you want to make. So my goal at this time is to just remove the meat from the skull plate. This will be a better angle that you can see what I did on that side from this side. Angle your blade to the bone. I'm creating tension with my other hand. I'm trying to pull it away. This is just to get the bulk out of off of the skull plate here. Even if you take the time to just take that much away, the remaining that's left on there is just going to kind of dry up, okay? But what I would suggest is you could just throw a little borax on there, and all borax is doing is just help it to dry a little bit. But at that point in time, what I'll do is take a stiff knife blade and just scrape it. Okay, so I've just thrown a little bit of borax on here. You can see there's just a little bit of that red meat on there. Just take an old dull knife that you have anywhere. I mean, this thing is not sharp. It's primarily it's just a blunt object for me at this point in time. But I just hold it against that skull, that bone, and just rub the knife across there, almost a 90-degree angle, just to work some of that stubborn membrane of meat off there, and you can see how much more we can take off of that bone. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it today. This is more or less just a video to show you the basics. I mean, I could sit here for a while and really clean that up nice. I won't have to worry about any odor. I mean, I can throw that in my pickup truck and drive 20 hours home. It's not going to smell. It's not going to cause any problems. I'm trying to give you an angle here where you can see what we're doing. However you can scrape it. That's all you're doing, you're just scraping it. Find a thick spot, just cut into it, work it away. Okay, so that's just kind of an in general, but you can see how quick in just a short amount of time we're cleaning that up. So the red areas, those are the areas that you just want to try and scrape clean as you can. Okay, so we're just going to do a brief overview of everything that we've done from the point of a deer coming into the shop to show you how to properly take the cape off of the carcass, to properly taking the cape from the skull for my Western hunters that are out hunting, and even how to cut the skull plate so you don't have to worry about transporting a skull that might have brain matter in it. And what we have left is we have a cape that has no holes in it. We have a very short incision that needs to be repaired. We don't have a lot of repair to make there. We have a skull plate that's been cut accurately for the shoulder mount. And this cape has no cuts in the eyes, the tear ducts, the lip lines, leaving extra skin for your taxidermist, your nostril areas. And we left full amount of cartilage on the inside of these ears for any taxidermist that wants to use the inner ear anatomy. But if you do these steps and take care of that cape from the time that you've got it from the woods to your taxidermist, you can expect really great results. So using these tips, I hope that will make your mounts look a lot better and will come of a lot of use to you. So thanks for listening.